Since their first victory in their first game, downing the New York Giants 13-3 on September 16, 1937, the Washington Redskins have written many milestones into NFL history. The famed Redskin Band, the first of its kind, has shared midfield with Fred Waring and Paul Whiteman and the National Symphony, bringing big league community involvement, color and pageantry to the game as we know it today. Washington was the first club to be televised for an entire season when no other team was on TV. They were the first to take pro football from coast to coast. But after those days of Riley Smith, Wayne Milner, Wilbur Moore, and Sammy Baugh, victory was a sometimes thing for the Redskins until 1971, when those winning ways came back to Washington from California with George Allen. With his philosophy that the future is now, Coach Allen began immediately turning memory lane back into the glory road, winning his way into 3 consecutive championship games, making winning the best-known tradition of the Washington Redskins, and turning that hard-won tradition with a challenge of each new season into promises to keep. Dark greetings from the press hailed the Redskins prior to their 1974 opener. One writer summed up saying, "George Allen's notion of how to build a champion and maintain that special level of excellence will be put to its most severe test this season." Age, rules changes, and the offensive line were major question marks, with a nearly forgotten Redskin Ray Shunky replacing the injured Terry Hermeling at tackle, nagging injuries to center Len Hoss and guard Paul Lovitt, a new Redskin Walt Sweeney at guard, and all working together with second-year tackle George Stark for less than 1 full week as a unit. The Washington press did indeed have reason to wonder if the Redskins could revive their running game, dormant for much of the past season. On opening day, the Redskins squeaked by the New York Giants 13-10, but hope for a renewed running game sank as the great back Larry Brown went down, the victim of 5 seasons of relentless pounding. And the question of whether the over-the-hill gang was really actually over the hill got a further airing after the St. Louis Cardinals, a supposed have-not in the NFC, ran away to a 17-10 upset victory. Now, urgently, the Redskins face their first must-win crisis in a season only 3 weeks old. Against the Denver Broncos on Monday night, Washington sought to accomplish by strategy what they had not achieved by force. And with Billy Kilmer repeatedly nailing his receivers in a ball-control passing attack, Charlie Taylor, number 42, Roy Jefferson, and Jerry Smith cut and tore short and deep through the Broncos secondary, adding up an impressive 30-3 victory. But the offense that sparkled and purred on Monday night went halt and lame the following Sunday against the Cincinnati Bengals. Trailing 28-3, the old pot-bellied stove himself, Sonny Jurgensen, came on to heat things up and throw a scare into the Bengals. And oddly, the character of the Washington Redskins season of '74 first emerged in this game. The Redheads' ability to spark the team with last-minute magic, and the Redskins' veteran poise and unflappable faith in their ability to win over any odds, both became apparent, and though only undertones in a defeat, 1 week later they would be loudly pronounced in victory over the defending world champion Miami Dolphins. With nickelback Ken Stone, the Redskins' interception leader in '74, showing the way, Washington bottled up the Dolphins' attack. And this Sonny Jurgensen to Roy Jefferson connection gave Washington the advantage for most of the game. But like true champions, Miami battled back into the lead with precious little time remaining. And the last-minute challenge was again Sonny Jurgensen. Jurgensen's quick strike over the middle to Larry Smith earned Washington a 20-17 last-gasp victory over the Miami Dolphins. And for the Redskins, it was in every way truly a sunny day. For without this crucial victory, facing the league's toughest schedule, Washington's postseason playoff plans would have been tenuous at best. As Sonny Jurgensen sparked the offense, so Chris Hamburger was the man for the defense. And against the Giants in the 6th week, Hamburger was a one-man demolition team. Larry Brown also had a hand in subduing the ancient enemy 24-3. And next, the Redskins prepared for Jim Hart and the undefeated Eastern Division leaders, the St. Louis Cardinals of all people. And all expected the Cardinals' impossible dream to come asunder. But St. Louis clung to a 23-20 triumph. And now every Sunday would be a must-win Sunday for the Washington Redskins, with a mid-season mark of 4 wins and 3 defeats. The Green Bay Packers, playing their best ball of the season, fell 17-6 in the 8th week. But there would be no breathers for the Redskins, now facing Philadelphia and Dallas twice back-to-back in the cruel space of 18 days. In Philadelphia, an old blood rival had been resurrected from disarray, and now, in the opinion of many, stood as a match for all comers. During the first half, the Eagles lived up to their new reputation as winners, and things went badly for Washington as Roman Gabriel led his legions in green to a commanding lead. Facing a sinking autumn sun, George Allen hung on as his 9th crisis of the season unfolded. Afternoon shadows lengthened with his faith unshaken, and the trend which had been born in Cincinnati and proclaimed against the Miami Dolphins was replayed in Philadelphia. With veteran poise, McDowell, Biggs, and Robinson applied defensive pressure. And when the Eagles, new to this business of winning, popped, Chris Hamburger was there to fall on the football. But Hamburger's touchdown left Washington with a useless tie, and time had dwindled drastically. Time still for Sonny, though, and the last-minute magic. Sensing time for victory, the Redskins bench applauded their own long, hard uphill struggle. And time for victory there was, as Charlie Taylor raced ahead of a desperate Eagle defender in perfectly rhymed rendezvous with the football. Jurgensen to Taylor in heroic couplet, and Charlie held it high for any who may have doubted. But still no time for a breather with a record of 6-3 and the Dallas Cowboys next. This time, Billy did the honors for Sonny. And Joe Theismann, number 7, spelled Billy briefly, getting a feeling for what it means to be a Redskin and a winner. In a miraculous first half, the Redskins totaled 28 points, gave back only 21 in the second half, and held on to a 28-21 victory over their most natural-born foe. The next time around, the Eagles went down easier, and the key play was this 102-yard return for a touchdown by Larry Jones. While the importance of Redskins special teams was most apparent in the 26-7 romp over Philadelphia, both the offensive and the defensive special teams for Washington won the 20 to 25% of every game they played and were the single most important factor in the eventual success of the Washington Redskins in their season of '74. Led by Captain Rusty Tillman, Brad Dusek, number 59, Frank Grant, Bill Malinchak, and Mike Hull made indispensable contributions. With rules changes benefiting return artists, punter Mike Bragg did his job cleverly and efficiently. And Washington was fortunate to find Mark Mosley to handle place-kicking duties. And they found that they were doubly fortunate to have Mike Bragg, number 4, who handled both assignments after Mosley was hurt. Culminating their ordeal of 4 games in 18 days in Dallas on Thanksgiving Day, Washington saw a game they dominated for 59 minutes, 51 seconds get out of hand when Clint Longley launched this pass with a prayer. Still in late autumnal evening splendor, the Redskins could clinch a playoff spot against no less a fiery foe than the Los Angeles Rams. It was a struggle between the hardest-muscled men in the NFC. But with Billy the K cool and in control, the Redskins lifted themselves to a 23-17 victory and a berth in the playoffs for the 4th consecutive year under George Allen. Once again, keeping the promise of a new season by living up to the challenge of a winning tradition. In the final week of the regular schedule, Washington completed its record at 10-4, a mark second to none in the NFC. And after a season which had begun with so many questions, George Allen's notion of how to build and maintain a winner surely had prevailed. In the playoffs, facing the Rams for the second time in 3 weeks in the Coliseum, Sonny Jurgensen's last-minute magic failed, and the Washington Redskins finished their season as distinguished but unanointed champions. The defeat by the Los Angeles Rams left the Washington Redskins looking ahead with a successful season still shining behind them. A season rooted in defense with Ron McDowell and Verlin Biggs, number 86 at the end positions. And with number 72, Dyron Talbot enjoying his finest year in the middle, largely due to support from Bill Brundage, number 77. Brundage's improved strength against the run was the active ingredient which freed Talbot to play a more aggressive game, pursuing the passer. And Brundage, who has always been a superb pass rusher, complemented Talbot with added pressure. And together, Talbot and Brundage gave the Redskins as tough a tandem of interior tackles as any in the game. Another factor toughening the backbone of the Redskins' top-rated defense in the NFC in 1974 was the arrival of Harold McClinton, number 53, as a big-league middle linebacker. And behind McClinton, the action was no less effective in the secondary, with Brig Owens and Kenny Houston, two of the finest safeties in the game. And where nickelback Ken Stone and cornerbacks Pat Fisher and Mike Bass, number 41, all possessed the cat-quick moves to make the key steal when it counts. Offensively, the Redskins will emphasize redevelopment of the running game, although knee surgery to Larry Brown leaves a question mark. Men of his makings are almost impossible to hold down, and the best news is that in 75, the little wheel horse will not have to pull the load alone. Moses Denson, number 44, has the size and strength to move inside as well as Larry Smith and Charlie Evans. Number 47, Dwayne Thomas, gave promise in 74 of regaining some of the form that made him one of the most feared breakaway runners in the game. At no position more than at quarterback is the camaraderie, the one-for-all spirit of the Redskins, more apparent. Where Sonny and Billy have backed up each other and carried on, add now Joey Theismann, who displayed all the physical tools and the intangibles of courage and leadership in 1974 to make him the heir apparent. But no matter who throws the passes, the Washington Redskin receivers are unexcelled. Charlie Taylor and Roy Jefferson, number 80, have to be two of the fleetest, strongest, and trickiest catch-it-anywhere, anyway guys in the NFL. Fold-in tight end Jerry Smith, number 87, with Taylor and Jefferson, with Sonny Jurgensen, the number 1 passer in the NFC, and Billy Kilmer, ranked number 3, and the result is the number 1 passing offense in the league. Add Larry Brown and the other sure-handed backs, and the top-ranked passing attack becomes a ball-control tactic to sustain a winning tradition already well established in Washington. With excellence in offense and defense and special squads, with veteran poise and faith in their ability to win, with some last-minute magic, but mostly through teamwork. In the spirit of the Washington Redskins, George Allen's notion of how to build and maintain a winning tradition promises more promises to keep in 1975.